Hey guys, your boy Jacob here. I'm just about ready to start on a new little job this week. It'll probably take 2 or 3 days. Let me show you what I'm looking at. So these clients just bought this house and they were able to negotiate into the price of the house the fact that this thing is way under code and it's super dangerous. As you can see, this is supposed to be a railing protecting you from falling down the stairs. It's about 27 inches high. Which honestly, if you walk up to this thing, or at least for me, like it is right above the knee, and that's really dangerous. I mean, it's, you know, you're risking falling down into this stairwell. So we're gonna have to try to build a whole new railing system here. So what we have is lath and plaster, but it is behind that wall, so I'm hoping that patch job there is probably gonna be a lot easier than it could have been.
Probably about 50, 60 pounds right there. All right, go.
Well, we got it all cleaned up in here and I'm ready to kind of move forward. You know, as far as what I was expecting under here, this is about what I was expecting. There's a couple little annoying things. I mean, this corner is obviously not square. We've got this that bumps out, that tongue and groove there. But otherwise, you know, the 2x6, nice clear vertical grain Doug Fir that I have is gonna be a nice plate there. And we're just gonna have to figure out the rest. You know, you're always kind of making things up as far as finishing out some of these edges. You know, you just overlap things, and I always end up making something that looks really good and professional, and that's definitely, that's the goal here. I just did a quick little fill float here. I'm gonna let this dry. This is gonna take up most of what's there, and then I've gotta do another skim coat to try to fan this out. And then we'll go ahead and let that dry and do this texture and just see kind of what kind of finish we're gonna end up with. What we're gonna have here is a 2x6 button in here, and then we're gonna have a 4x4 post that's gonna set in here. So a lot of this is gonna be covered up, but we do need to get it nice and flush with the existing wall. All right, so I got this thing laid down in here. It's laminated together and the fit is really nice. Of course, there's other trim pieces going all the way around the perimeter of this thing. And it's essentially gonna match up to where the old width of everything was. You can see that the floors have been refinished and they're routed down a good 1/4 inch. Well, maybe more like 1/8, but that's gonna be covered up anyways, so that's the plan, man. Now I've pre-drilled these and I'm just gonna put it in the 2 locations where I know it's gonna get covered up by other pieces of trim. And so these are 5-inch lag screws. These are perfect for this. They're gonna get back into that backing that I know I have here. I just wanna make sure that this thing stays plumb right on my line. Sit that bottom, top. Right on my line, there it is. So I'm using these newel post brackets, and these are really nice because you can access them all the way around. I preset my post with a couple screws and got it perfectly plumb. And now I'm coming in and just making sure everything is nice and tight. So you can see just how strong that is, and the fact that we're attaching to the wall over there and we've got 2 bends in this, it makes it incredibly strong. And then, you know, there's a special back cut trim for this, so it's gonna finish out like this. And that I think is gonna be a really good look, and it also gives me a nice tall surface here, flat surface to butt some of my joints into, and it's gonna turn out really nice. So you do want to glue up all these connections because they will want to work out over time as things expand and contract. So you want to avoid that as much as you can, but not too much glue because we're going to be staining this stuff. We just want to get a really nice set here. And the other thing is that we're only holding this in with a couple little finish nails. Let's come in here. Boom. Now we're over on the other side now, and this is fun, and that's why I tack just here and here, so this still opens and closes a little bit. This one is fun just because you get to push it right to where everything meets up, and that I like doing. You know, you gotta take the small things that are fun. Push this in nice and even. So it wants to sit right about there. So I'm gonna hit the piece itself first. Boom. That's really nice. And then I'm gonna attach it to the adjoining pieces. And right here in the center is where I have that meat. Boom. Boom. So I've set up a little stopper here so that I can cut all of these exactly the same. On this longer butt end, I'm taking 1 3/4 inches off, and this is because of our railing and some of our bottom pieces, etc. I need to shorten these. This is the fastest way to do this accurately. So I've got one set up here. Hey, I've got my first setup here. It's super basic, there's still a lot to do, but I got my big 5/4 clear Doug Fir connector on here. And what that does is allow me to get my 45s exactly where I want them, as I'll have another piece of 5/4 connecting it all. And this gives me all the strength in the world when I attach my previous connector piece for all the balusters. It's all glued and screwed in there. Just center it along the run, and this thing is bulletproof. So by now you might be thinking, how is this going to finish out? And especially, how are we going to get strength on the bottom here? And that's what I have these two little pieces for. I don't know if you can see that, but the profile is really cool. And having it butt up into that other finish work, it just looks really nice. So I'm going to glue this down really well because it is holding back some of this. All right, here we go. This is kind of the last larger piece that we're doing. We do also have a lot of sort of shoe base and things like that we're gonna put around some of the edges, but this is the last significant chunk of this railing system. I'm really excited at how smoothly everything went. Sometimes projects like this, you run into trouble because it's an old house and you've got, you know, angles and things in the walls that aren't square, but this house has been pretty true. Well, just drop her in here. You want to work it a little bit. Just make sure that everything fits exactly the way that I want it. Like that is all sitting really nice. All right. I want to push in a little. While I do this. Boom. Grabbed it. And if we want to adjust our angle a little bit, which we don't really, I mean, that's pretty much perfect. And this guy's just going to stay exactly where it is. Boom. All right, so here we are on day 3. I've got a lot of touch-ups to do. I'm going to be sanding this whole thing down. I'm going to be putting putty into all of my little finish nail holes. And I've got a couple little tricks for some of the last pieces of trim I'm going to put in that I think are pretty helpful and something I learned only a couple years ago. So I've got an issue here where this tongue and groove protrudes probably 3/8 from the surface of the wall, and I want my trim piece to come in through here. So I marked the actual trim piece. It's gonna lip right under here. And now I need to carve this out, which I'm gonna do with my multi-tool. So I have this thing all carved out now, and what that's gonna allow me to do is put my trim piece flush up against the wall. And the tip that I have for you here is that the wall is not straight. It goes in and out a little bit. So what I did, because this 2x6 is straight, I made sure that it was either flush or protruding from the existing wall. And this is what you need to do on situations like this. You're always gonna run a trim piece against the face of the thing that is not even, so that on that bottom side you don't have a gap, right? Because this would pop it out. But I'm gonna run this under here and put it flush against the wall, and then I'm gonna run my shoe base up on top of this to cover this gap. Okay, now I'm gonna just work this thing. Popped in there, just under my 2x6. And it pops out here a little bit, that's okay. All right, so now we have a somewhat uneven gap here, but when we come in with our shoe base on top of this, that covers it. And any indication that it comes in and out will just be completely obscured by that. So I've just coated the top of this. I'm using a water-based stain. So it's a polyacrylic product. It's really high quality. I do think using polyacrylic stains is okay if it's on the interior and it's something that's really nicely finished and sanded. And also, like, the issue here is not wanting a bunch of oil vapor, not having to wait several days before I can put a gloss finish on it. This kind of gets it all in one coat, but it's a lot less forgiving. So you got to be really careful as you go. You know, you can't wipe it off. Once you put it in, if there's a streak or a brush line, it's gonna dry in a matter of seconds. You know, the finish doesn't dry for about an hour, but because the wood's open, that pigment is gonna just stay where it is, and it's really hard to change it without sanding all the way back down into it. All right, so I just finished staining everything. It looks really good. That took about 4 or 5 hours. Really time consuming coming in here. It's a lot different than doing an oil-based stain where I could have, with these spindles, just lap on a bunch of oil, get a rag, wipe it on really quick, super easy. But the situation here is we're inside a house and we don't want those kind of vapors coming off. So this is really just time consuming. You know, every single thing is brushed. You can't have extra. It dries really quick. So I'll do a little close-up around here before I put on a coat of satin polyacrylic finish on this. All right, so here's the look. Really happy with it. What we're trying to match here, it's not this floor here because they're refinishing that. It's this. This is the classic Doug Fir look, and that's what I was going for here. And once this floor gets refinished, I think they'll match up really well. And I just need to get that satin finish on here. You can tell it's a little bit rough. Just come in and hand sand it with a nice little 120 or 320 and then put on my finish.